Hey guys, Kevin here from UC Clearly. I'm assuming if you're watching this video, you have already created a Cloudbridge account and you've probably already watched the video on creating an account, getting signed in, etc. So if you're signing in for the first time, this is kind of what you're going to see. It's a basic um, uh, tree view with you'll see a My Cloudbridge node with a bunch of nodes underneath there, and you'll be homed on the Explore solutions. So I want to cover off a couple of key primary navigation facilities, and then we'll look at some of the details behind that. First thing is the Start menu. So similar to Windows 10, you've got a start menu here, and initially you're only going to see My Solutions because you haven't created any content yet within your Cloudbridge account. We'll come back to this later, but just know that this is your primary navigation. If you're a content author, somebody that is sort of the black belt admin within your organization, you're going to spend a lot of time in your My Solutions node or My Solutions tree. When you start to provision access to other people, to other team members in order to access content, they're going to use their start menu to get to that content that you shared with them. The next thing is up in the right corner here, you'll see the profile menu where I can change my password, I can set my contact details, company name, etc. I can switch to a Microsoft login, or if I'm using a Cloudbridge, or sorry, if I'm using a Microsoft login, I can switch to a Cloudbridge login. There are times where you might want to switch from one to the other. Mostly, we recommend people use their Microsoft credentials, but there are rare occasions where you might want to switch back and forth. That then takes us to the tree. So again, this is the My Solutions tree. So this is your sandbox. And this allows me to come in here and build solutions or consume solutions from the tree or consume solutions from somebody that has shared a solution with me. In later videos, we'll show you how to take solutions that you've created and share them with other people so that they get a URL and they can install that solution right into their tree. So we're going to start with just taking a look at some of the solutions here. I just want to take one of these solutions and install it in my tree so that you can see what that looks like. And then we're going to look at some of the tree nodes and sort of the navigational concepts around that. So first thing, I'm just going to click install. Prompts me, are you sure you want to install it? Yes, I am. It now installs it. And it prompts me, do you want to set up credentials for this? If I click OK, it will take me to that root node and take me to the credentials tab. Now, before we get into setting up the credentials, let's just talk a little bit about what we've put in the tree here. So you can see that prior to installing this, we had Explore Solutions and My Cloudbridge, and we'll spend a little bit more time later talking about that. I've installed a new solution. That creates a root node. Solutions will always install at the root node of your tree. Underneath that, I have all the folders that are part of that solution. Folders are simply ways of organizing your content. Within those folders, I typically will have scripts. So these are PowerShell scripts that are stored, that are contained within these folders. And you can nest as deep as you want to go. You can organize this in whichever way that you like to create a logical structure that makes sense to you. So when I navigate down, if I select a folder on the right-hand side, what you see is a list of all the scripts that are in that folder and subfolders. And they are indented to reflect their path. So you can see sort of the path that points to that script. Now, typically, the only time that you would normally use this view would be if I ran a whole bunch of scripts all at once. And I can do that by simply coming to a folder and clicking the Run button. That will run all scripts underneath that folder and its subfolders. Let's go down and look at another folder. You'll see same thing as this folder. I have a list of the scripts that are children of that folder and any subfolder. So you're basically sort of scoping your solution here. As I select these folders, I see all the scripts within that folder, and I can run all those scripts just by clicking the run button here. Let's go take a look at an individual script. So here I have a script, and if I go look at that script, I can see it's just standard PowerShell. So there's all the PowerShell that will generate the list of guest accounts. Now I want to draw your attention to a couple of key things here that are navigation and sort of concept oriented. We'll get into the details of script and all kinds of things a little bit later, but I want you to understand that when you select a script node, you get two basic views that go with that. You have a script and all of the settings that govern the behavior of that script and how Cloudbridge processes that script. And then you have results. And results are just like it sounds, that's where the data from that script will appear. So within the script, you'll see I have a whole series of tabs that control behavior. So I have a bunch of properties that I can set. I can set credentials. I mentioned that you only have to set credentials at the root, and it will automatically inherit all the way down the tree. But sometimes you might want to change that and say this script needs to run with different credentials. Well, you can come in here and change that so that it uses a different connect ID. You can schedule scripts, you can set retention, but you'll notice that these typically all follow the inheritance model. So while I can set these things at individual scripts, and you will sometimes, I can go to any folder and I can set many of these settings at the folder level. So I could say, for example, schedule the execution of this folder, set those properties, and set a time, and all of these scripts will run at that interval. Likewise, I can set credentials, and all of these scripts will run using those credentials unless I override them. So remember that when I go to a script, I have two tabs, a results tab and a script tab. Results are where I see the output of the script. Script is where I see the underlying script, and I see all of the settings that govern the behavior of that script. Now we're going to take a little bit of a departure. I'm going to log in with my user account that has some more interesting data to look at. This is a brand new user account. So I'm going to log in with that account. We'll have a look at some data. Okay, so we're back. I've logged in with my account, and you'll see that my tree looks a little more interesting than the tree that you see when you first log in. Now, if you recall, we went into Explore Solutions and we selected the Office 365 external access check as an initial solution. This is often one that people like to install when they first sign up. It's kind of an interesting solution. It goes and looks through your whole Office 365 environment and looks for any settings that are set to allow external access. So these are people outside your organization that can come into the organization and access data. And it will look at data that has been shared, identify data that's been shared with people outside your organization. So this is not something that we're not going to drill into the external access too much right now, but I just want to show you as an example for navigation. So let's go down to my external access. Here I have it installed. And if I open that up, I see the same nodes that we saw before. And within this, I'm able to now navigate down and let's say, for example, SharePoint Online. So if I go to tenant settings, you'll see that it will come up by default with results. It will generally remember the last node, and I say generally because I'm flipping back and forth all the time, but it does remember the last view that you selected, whether you're on results or script, and it will present that to you the next time you come in. So I'm looking at the results for this script. Now, if I want to look at the script, just click the script tab. The splitter bar here, if I click in the middle, it just collapses the whole panel, and I can see the whole script behind this, just standard PowerShell. I open that up. Let's go to the results node. And now I'm looking at the output of that script. So this is looking at all the SharePoint settings that govern access to my data, govern access from the outside, the external access. So that's kind of the basic idea. Let's go and take a look at the start menu. I'm going to show you what the start menu looks like once you give other people access to content. So when I click the start menu here, you see I have a whole bunch of tiles. When you provision access to content, you're going to set permissions and you're going to choose a tile title and icon and so on. So if I choose my Office 365 tile, I'm now looking at a portion of somebody else's tree. This has been provisioned to me. And if I come down here and I go into users, I will be looking at the users in that Office 365 tenant. So again, same navigation, script and results. And if I look at results, I see a bunch of tabs here. Now these are the outputs of that script. So this particular script produces multiple outputs. And so I can see all the user details. And if I come in here, I could do something like, say, search on last name, and boom, I have my account identified. And a key concept in Cloudbridge is that once I identify content, I can take action on that content. So I can say, well, I want to deprovision that user, which will then give me a dialog with a whole bunch of options to deprovision that user. Now, all of this is just standard PowerShell. There's nothing here. This is not hard-coded or built specially for Office 365 management. This is simply a solution that was built with PowerShell, and Cloudbridge puts all the services around it to make this possible. So I can do things like filter on the content in the grid. I could do things like move columns around. I can switch to other views. I can see data displayed in all different formats. So this is the fundamental Cloudbridge experience. We'll be looking at many, many more things as we dive deeper into Cloudbridge to show you how you can take fragments of PowerShell and how you can start to create these solutions for yourself, or how you can take these and customize, tweak them for your user community. We'll wrap it there, and we'll see you on the next video.